Archangel Michael says, 7 archangels are dying, they were wounded protecting you. Michael cries out, only you are blind to what happened last night. God says this is your final chance to know the hidden truth. Hurry, open this within 15 seconds. 7 archangels were sent to shield you in the deep darkness of last night, and they did not retreat even when the weight of the heavens bore down upon them. They held their ground with their wings torn and their hearts blazing, protecting your soul from forces you never saw and may never understand. While you slept in silence, thinking the night was ordinary, a fierce battle was raging in the unseen. The very skies trembled. The wind stood still. And while you dreamt in peace, the archangels bled light to keep you whole. Type 1111 if you trust in God. They were not just fighting for your body, your sleep, or your daily blessings. They were fighting for your spirit, for your calling, for your connection to the one who created you out of love. And when the last blow was struck, Archangel Michael fell to his knees, crying out, not in defeat, but in sorrow, because the one they protected, the one God whispered over and breathed life into, you, still walked the earth unaware. Unaware of the mercy covering you. Unaware of the war waged on your behalf. Unaware that the enemy tried to reach you but could not cross the line drawn by God's command. This is your final chance, not out of fear, not out of doom, but because God is reaching again. He always reaches first. And now He calls to you, not to frighten you, not to shame you, but to bring you closer to the truth that has been hidden not from you, but for you. God never hides light to keep it from your eyes. He guards it until you're ready to receive it without turning away. The hidden truth is not a tale of monsters or fire. It is a truth so beautiful and tender, most hearts cannot bear to look at it without trembling. It is the truth that you were loved before you took your first breath. That heaven counted the cost to carry you through your pain. That each tear you cried in secret sent a ripple across eternity and moved the heart of God. Every bruise on your soul is known to Him. Every time you felt unseen, He saw you clearer than anyone else ever has. The war in the heavens is not about your past sins. It's about your future redemption. What if you could unlock a secret brain wave that top scientists discovered inside the hippocampus, the very switch that signals wealth and abundance? Hidden from the public for decades, this breakthrough can rewire your mind to attract prosperity faster than you imagined. Picture the stress of bills replaced with financial freedom and new opportunities. Every delay is a missed blessing, and those who act now are already walking into the wealth you deserve. Step forward before the door closes. Click the link in the video description and comments below to activate this ancient money wave and step into abundance today. Angels do not bleed like men, but they burn when they fight darkness. They burn with glory, with purpose, with loyalty to the God who formed you. They stand between you and the shadows not because they have to, but because they choose to. Love drives them. The love of the Father, echoing through them, leads them to fight battles you don't even know exist. You woke up today because someone was guarding your soul in the night. Type Amen if you believe. There was a moment, just before dawn, when the veil thinned and heaven leaned close. Michael cried out in anguish, not for his pain, but for your blindness. He wept because the one he gave everything to protect would wake up and scroll past the divine. Would ignore the signs. would go on thinking they are just flesh and breath. He cried because he knows how precious you are and how unaware you still remain. He cried because he knows what God has placed inside you. He knows what the enemy fears most is not your strength, but your awakening. You are not random. You are not forgotten. You are not small. Even when you feel like you are. Even when your heart is heavy and your mind grows tired of hoping, heaven is not silent. Heaven is roaring. Heaven is still moving on your behalf. God has not left you. He is not done. This is not the end of your story. This is the chapter where your eyes begin to open, and you see not just the world, but the love that formed it. The love that formed you. The 7 archangels were not wounded in vain. Their pain carries meaning, and it is etched into eternity. Each scar they carry is a testimony of your worth. Each blow they endured is proof that heaven does not give up on you. You are being pursued, not with force, but with love. A love that fights through every wall you've built, every doubt you carry, every fear you've tried to bury. That love is God. That love is Jesus. Jesus walked into storms to reach hearts that rejected him. He touched the sick when others turned away. He forgave the guilty when the world demanded punishment. He didn't come to earth just to die. He came to show you what love looks like in the dirt. He came to pull heaven down into the broken places. He came so that even when the night is darkest, your soul can still know peace. And he is still here. Still calling your name. Still waiting for you to turn, not in shame, but in surrender. There is no better time than now. Not because time is running out, but because love is pouring in. Let it in. Let it heal what the world could never fix. Let it lift what you've carried too long. Let it whisper over you the truth you were born to hear: you are not alone. You have never been. And everything that's happened has not changed what God sees in you. You are still His. Type 222 to claim protection. They did not plead for rest. They did not seek applause. Their only desire was to protect the one chosen by God. Whether or not you feel worthy, whether or not you believe it fully yet, you were the reason the angels lifted their swords. Their suffering was not in vain, and their cries did not go unheard. God was near. Closer than the breath in your lungs. Watching. Commanding. Mourning the wounds His messengers received, but never once allowing your name to leave His care. You were not abandoned. Not for a second. Though you walked through yesterday unaware of the eyes watching over you, they were there. The blood they spilled wasn't of this world, but it stained the sky with a promise that you are worth saving, that your soul carries more purpose than you can comprehend, and that heaven would rather burn than see you broken beyond repair. The angels knew what was coming. They knew the cost. Yet they stood firm. Because your life matters. What you've carried, the guilt, the exhaustion, the doubts, they weigh heavy, and sometimes the world makes it seem like they're yours to bear alone. But that's never been true. God has watched every single moment you've broken down in silence. He's counted each breath you took when it felt too hard to keep going. He knows your fight, even the ones no one else sees. And last night, when the enemy came near, thinking you were too distracted or too numb to notice, heaven rose. Not because of what you did, but because of who you are to Him. There is nothing in you that is invisible to God. Not your pain. Not your hopes. Not your mistakes. He sees it all, and He still chooses you. Every morning you open your eyes is not just a new day, it's a sign that God is not done with you. He is not withholding His love. He is not punishing you. He is reaching, again and again, sometimes through thunder, sometimes through whispers, but always with tenderness. His voice doesn't accuse. It restores. And His mercy doesn't run out. It pours freely, especially when you feel like you've failed the most. Michael wept not from defeat, but because the ones they defended still do not see. Still do not feel the weight of how fiercely they are loved. Still believe they are too far gone. But you are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not too late. The fact that you are reading this right now is proof that heaven is still writing your story. And this chapter is the one where you begin to feel what God has been saying all along: you are His child, and He will not let you be lost. Type 555 if you feel God pulling you closer. Let yourself rest in that truth. Not the version of it that says you have to be perfect or strong or good enough to be loved. The real truth. The kind that wraps around you when you feel like falling apart. The kind that tells you it's okay to cry. It's okay to be unsure. It's okay to not have it all together. Because God never needed you to have it all together. He only wanted your heart. A mysterious 9-word prayer once sealed inside a private government vault is now resurfacing, and people everywhere are seeing financial breakthroughs overnight. Experts say it triggers a long silent part of the human brain responsible for abundance and wealth attraction. It takes less than 30 seconds to repeat, yet it's turning struggle into prosperity. Thousands are reporting cleared loans, sudden cash inflows, and unexpected blessings. Click the link in the description and comments before this secret disappears again. The heart of Jesus never turned away from pain. He touched lepers. He wept with the grieving. He knelt beside those who were shamed and whispered words that lifted them back to their feet. He was never afraid of the broken. He came for the broken. And He comes still. Through the Spirit, He walks into your mess and calls it holy ground. Not because it looks clean, but because it's real. And wherever your truth meets His love, transformation begins. There's a shift happening now, even if you can't feel it yet. The veil that kept your heart from seeing clearly is beginning to tear. Not all at once. God is gentle. But little by little, the numbness is lifting, the fear is softening, and the love you were made for is finding its way in again. You don't have to earn this love. You only have to let it touch you. Heaven does not move in fear. Heaven moves in hope. And right now, hope is knocking on your door again. The angels who stood last night are still watching, still praying, still believing. They know what's at stake. They know what beauty is about to unfold. And they're still fighting, this time, not against darkness, but for your awakening. God never sends warnings without offering rescue. He does not say, "This is your final chance," like the world says it. He says it like a father who has been calling you home, again and again, with tears in his voice. He says it not with anger, but with urgency, because he sees what you're meant to become. And he does not want you to settle for less. Not now. Not when your healing is so close. There are moments in life when you realize something sacred is happening, when the ordinary becomes holy, and something inside you stirs, even if you can't name it yet. This is one of those moments. Don't run from it. Don't push it aside like another message. Let your soul breathe. Let your heart speak. Even if it's just a whisper, even if all you can say is, "I want to believe," that's enough. God will meet you there. Type 1212 if you walk by faith. They didn't hesitate. Not for a second. Even as the shadows moved with cunning and cruelty, even as the weight of evil tried to choke the light from the skies, the seven stood unshaken. Their wounds were deep, not of flesh, but of light itself. Still, they stood. They did not move because you were worthy in the world's eyes. They moved because in God's eyes, you are worth everything. His breath is still in your lungs. His fingerprints are still on your heart. And though you may not yet see what's unfolding in the spiritual, every moment is marked with the divine. There was a reason heaven did not let you wake into disaster. There was a reason you were spared from what was planned. Not because you earned it. Not because you were better. But because God is not finished with you. The enemy came to steal something precious in the night, a piece of your hope, your strength, your belief in love, your sense of belonging, but the angels did not allow it. They held the line. They bore the weight. And they did so silently, because true love never demands to be noticed. You've been tired. Maybe more tired than you've admitted. You've smiled when your heart felt hollow. You've prayed prayers with lips that trembled. And sometimes, you felt like your voice was too small to be heard above the noise. But you need to know this, your voice has always reached heaven. Even the words you whispered in pain, even the thoughts you never spoke aloud, God heard every one of them. And He answered. Not always in the way you expected, but always in the way you needed. Last night, the answer came in the form of fire and light and 7 mighty ones who bore the name of the Most High. They didn't come to scare you. They came to cover you. They didn't come to boast. They came to bleed. And still today, as you walk into a new day without realizing the battle that passed, their strength is woven into your steps. You don't walk alone. You carry the proof of heaven's love in every breath you take. God never forgets. Not the ones He made. Not the promises He gave. He remembers you when the world forgets. He remembers you when your friends walk away, when your heart breaks quietly, when you try your best and still fall short. His memory is perfect, and you are written on His heart with a permanence no failure can erase. That's why the angels fought for you. Because God still sees your future even when all you see is your pain. Because your story doesn't end in the struggle. It begins again in grace. Type yes to affirm your faith. You may think you're too broken to carry the light, but that is never true. God chooses the wounded, the overlooked, the weary. He wraps his arms around the ones who feel forgotten and says, "This one is mine." You don't have to prove anything. You only have to receive what's already been offered. The love of God doesn't come with terms. It doesn't shrink when you fail. It doesn't pause when you doubt. It surrounds you, even when you're unaware. And it's not just His love. It's His calling. You are not here by accident. The fact that you were protected last night is not just a sign of love, it's a sign of purpose. Heaven doesn't defend what it does not intend to use. The enemy tried to silence you, not because you're weak, but because you're dangerous to darkness. There's something inside you that was placed by God, a light, a voice, a calling, and when it fully awakens, it will change more than just your life. It will touch the lives of others. Jesus never promised ease. But He promised presence. He never said you wouldn't cry. He said He would catch every tear. He never said the road would be clear. He said He would walk with you, every step. He has walked through death. He has felt betrayal. He has faced rejection. There is no pain you have that He hasn't held. And there is no sin you carry that He hasn't already forgiven. His grace isn't fragile. It's fierce. It finds you where you are, and it never lets go. This isn't just another moment. This is a turning point. You can keep walking through life unaware, or you can begin to listen. To feel. To open your heart to something deeper. The kind of faith that isn't about religion, but about relationship. A real, living, breathing relationship with the one who made you, who saved you, who still chooses you even on your worst days. He is here. He is near. And He is not leaving. When Michael cried out in the battle, it wasn't in fear. It was in sorrow. Because he knew the cost. He knew how many go on living blind to what heaven does for them. Blind to the love poured out, the miracles hidden in daily life, the beauty waiting just beyond the veil. But this doesn't have to be your story. You can awaken now. You can lift your eyes and see what God has been doing behind the scenes. You can accept His love not as an idea, but as the very foundation of who you are. You're not too late. You're right on time. This is your moment. Let the veil fall. Let the pain release. Let the light enter the places that have long been dark. Let the angels rejoice, not just because they protected you, but because you finally saw the reason they did. Because you chose to believe again. Because you turned your face toward the one who has always been waiting with open arms. Type 666 if you trust Jesus. You see, while you were unaware, thinking the night passed like any other, something invisible, something sacred was unfolding. It wasn't just the usual quiet hours of sleep. It was a war. A battle not of swords made of metal, but of fire, light, and fierce loyalty. And the archangels, all 7, stepped into the fight knowing they might fall, knowing they would be struck, knowing the darkness they faced would not hold back. Yet not one of them turned away. Not one of them hesitated. Because your life mattered. Not just your existence, but your heart, your future, your healing, your hope. The enemy came with subtlety. Not with loud destruction, but with quiet deception. Fear, shame, weariness, doubt. The kind of attacks that don't shout, they whisper. The kind that twist truth into lies and convince you to settle for pain when God is calling you to freedom. But the angels knew. They knew what was coming. They knew what you couldn't see. And without needing your permission, without asking for applause, they stepped between you and what was meant to destroy you. They were wounded, not in vain, but for purpose. Their light flickered and flared, their strength pressed to the edge, yet they did not fall in defeat. They fell in faithfulness. Not one of their cries was ignored. God heard them. God watched. And though it grieved him to see his servant struck, he knew the cost was necessary. Because you are not just a creation. Especially when the one being loved does not yet understand how deeply they are being fought for. Buried deep in forgotten archives, a 9-word phrase once hidden from the public is now transforming ordinary lives. Neuroscientists call it a wealth frequency activator, because it awakens a part of the brain that naturally draws prosperity. It takes just seconds to speak, but the change can last a lifetime. People are waking up debt-free and financially secure. The page could vanish at any moment. Click the link before it's gone for good. You woke up thinking it was just another day. But it isn't. This day carries the weight of a rescue. The sky outside holds the echoes of a night that almost took something precious from you. And yet, you are here. You are breathing. You are alive. Not because fate smiled on you. Not because chance was on your side. But because God stepped in. Because his messengers covered you with everything they had. Because heaven still believes in you. Type 1919 to receive miracles. There are so many moments you've walked through carrying a quiet ache. Times when it felt like no one truly saw you. When your heart whispered prayers you weren't sure God heard. When you smiled while breaking inside. When the weight of what you've endured made you question if you were still strong enough to keep standing. And yet, in all those moments, you were never truly alone. There were hands unseen, wings you couldn't feel, shielding you from what could have shattered you completely. Sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't a sudden healing or a loud answer. Sometimes, it's the simple fact that you're still here. Still breathing. Still trying. Still reaching, even if your hands are trembling. That, in itself, is evidence of divine intervention. That is the mark of grace. Of mercy. Of heaven choosing again and again to hold you when everything else fell apart. God doesn't give up on what he starts. He didn't give up on you when you wandered. He didn't pull back when you doubted. He didn't step away when you made mistakes you haven't fully forgiven yourself for. He stayed. He whispered truth while you wrestled with lies. He covered you while the enemy tried to convince you that you were unlovable, unredeemable, forgotten. But you were never forgotten. You were remembered in every moment. Jesus came for the ones who thought they were beyond saving. He came for the weary, the ashamed, the lost, the uncertain. He didn't come to impress the perfect. He came to rescue the hurting. To lift the broken. to restore what the world discarded. And He still does. His Spirit moves through every breath you take, every tear that falls, every silent plea in the night. You don't have to earn His presence. You just have to open your heart. Michael and the archangels carry out God's will not with fear but with faith. They do not question His commands. They trust in His purpose. And when they stepped forward last night, they did so knowing that your life is tied to something eternal. That your presence on this earth is part of a much larger story, one that has not yet been fully written. And their sacrifice was not just to protect you, but to awaken you. To awaken you to the truth that you matter. That your prayers, no matter how weak they've felt, have reached God's heart. That your pain, even the kind you've hidden from everyone else, has not gone unnoticed. That your dreams, the ones you gave up on, are still being held in God's hands. You have not been forgotten in the waiting. You have been watched over in the silence. This is not the end. It's a beginning. A new chance to say yes. A new chance to let go of what has weighed you down. A new chance to believe that God has not abandoned you, and He never will. The hidden truth is not just that angels were wounded to protect you. It's that you were always worth protecting. Even in your worst moments. Even in your lowest valleys. God's love did not waver. Type 2323 if you agree. When the battle began, it wasn't with noise. It started in the stillness, when the enemy thought you wouldn't notice. Thought you were too tired. Thought your faith was too dim. Thought your heart had already surrendered to weariness. But the archangels knew better. They knew the truth of who you are beneath the fear and the wounds. They knew that within you, God planted something eternal, something sacred. And so, they fought, not just to guard your body, but to protect your calling, your spirit, your light. Even now, the wounds they carry are etched into eternity. Not as reminders of suffering, but as marks of honor. The fire that burned through the sky last night wasn't destruction, it was the blazing devotion of heaven protecting what still has purpose. And that purpose is you. It's the moments you've yet to live. The kindness you've yet to give. The healing that will flow through your life when you finally understand how deeply you are loved. You may wonder why you've been kept through storms. Why you've been spared from things you never even knew were meant to break you. It's not because you've lived perfectly or prayed the longest. It's because God still sees what you're meant to become. Because even in your doubts, you've never left His heart. Because He will not abandon the work He started in you. And last night, as shadows tried to draw near, He sent His fiercest warriors to make sure they never touched your soul. Michael cried out, not in pain for himself, but in sorrow for you. For how blind we've become to the spiritual reality around us. For how easy it is to miss the miracles woven into our mornings. He wept because while heaven bleeds light for us, we often continue as if we are unloved, unseen, forgotten. But you are none of those things. You are remembered. Chosen. Guarded. God has wrapped His promises around your name, and nothing can pull them away. You may have been walking in silence lately, unsure if God still hears you. You may have grown tired of waiting, of hoping, of carrying burdens that never seem to ease. But last night proved once again, God is still moving. You may not see it, but every day, you wake up covered in proof that you're not forgotten. Every breath you take holds the imprint of mercy. Every quiet moment you survive is wrapped in protection. Type Amen if you believe. What if a simple 7-minute sound frequency could awaken a forgotten brain signal designed to pull wealth toward you like a magnet? Backed by shocking CIA files and neuroscience, this discovery is now changing lives everywhere. Think of debts melting away, promotions arriving, and abundance flowing freely. This is the one moment that can rewrite your future, but only if you claim it now, because hesitation will only keep you chained to the same struggles. Click the link in video description and comments below to experience the hidden wealth wave and let your financial destiny shift in your favor today. Jesus never promised that life would be easy. But he promised you'd never walk through it alone. He said he would be with you in the fire, in the storm, in the heartbreak. He came not to watch your suffering from a distance but to walk through it with you. And when he returned to the Father, he didn't leave you empty. He sent his Spirit. He sent his angels. He filled the heavens with warriors whose one mission is to carry out the love of God on your behalf. That love does not fade. It doesn't weaken on your worst days. It doesn't disappear when you doubt or fall. It remains steady, fierce, healing. And it calls to you now, not through fear or judgment, but through gentle truth. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. You don't have to keep pretending to be strong when you're tired. God is not waiting for you to get it all together. He's simply asking you to come. Let the pain fall. Let the walls you've built begin to soften. Let the idea that you're too far gone be shattered by the truth that you are already seen, already known, and still completely loved. The Archangels stood last night because you still have a future worth fighting for. Because God's vision of your life doesn't stop at your past. He sees beyond the pain, beyond the mistakes, beyond the shame. He sees a heart still capable of being restored. He sees a soul that still carries light. And he will not give up on you. You may not feel strong enough right now. That's okay. You don't have to be. Strength doesn't always look like victory. Sometimes, it looks like standing back up after being knocked down. Sometimes, it's the decision to try again. To believe again. To pray, even if your voice shakes. To trust, even when you don't see the whole picture. That is real faith. That is where miracles begin. Last night, heaven saw you as more than what you think you are. Not a burden. Not a failure. Not broken beyond repair. But a child of God, deeply loved, eternally protected, and endlessly pursued. You are still here because there is more for you. Because there is healing that's coming. Because joy has not passed you by, it's waiting. Because peace is still possible, even for hearts that have been through the fire. This is not just another day. It's a holy moment. One where God is reminding you, again, that you are not alone. That the battles you don't see are already being fought and won. That your name has been spoken in heaven, and your future is not forgotten. Take that in. Let it sink deep. Not as a temporary comfort, but as a lasting truth. You were not made to simply survive. You were made to live fully, freely, with hope. And even if all you can do right now is whisper, yes, that's enough. God will take your whisper and turn it into a song. He will take your weariness and make it strength. He will take your fear and give you peace. Because that is who He is. Type 1111 if you trust in God. Last night was not just another quiet evening. Something shifted in the spirit world. Something ancient, fierce, and divine. There was a cry, a trembling in the heavens, because the enemy thought it had found an open door. A place where your faith had grown tired, where your hope was flickering. It thought your silence meant surrender. It thought your pain made you weak. But heaven knew better. God knew better. And He sent His mightiest to war for you once again. There were wounds. Not symbolic, not distant, but real. When angels fall in battle, they don't fall in shame, they fall in glory, bearing the weight of obedience. Their light may dim, but it never dies. Their wings may be scorched, but they never collapse. Because what fuels them is not pride, but the love of God flowing through every command they receive. And the command last night was simple: protect the one I love. That one was you. Maybe you've been feeling like no one really sees you. Maybe you've wondered if your life has slipped through the cracks, if your quiet prayers even reach beyond the ceiling. But let this truth settle deep in your heart: heaven doesn't move for what is forgotten. Heaven moves for what is priceless. And your life, with all its struggles, flaws, and quiet pain, was worth the full defense of the kingdom. God has never stopped watching over you. Not when you fell apart. Not when you pushed Him away. Not when you questioned His presence. Even in your silence, He remained. Even in your rebellion, He waited. And last night, He sent an army to remind the enemy, and you, that you are not unguarded. You are not alone. You are not abandoned. There's a tenderness in God that we so often overlook. We look for Him in thunder and power, but forget that He moves in gentleness. He draws near with comfort, not condemnation. And when He speaks, it's not always loud. Sometimes, it's the whisper in your heart that tells you to hold on a little longer. Sometimes, it's the strange peace that settles in the middle of your storm. Sometimes, it's the unexplained survival when everything said you should have fallen. That's Him. Always Him. Type 2020 to claim miracles. Michael didn't cry out for himself. He cried because the one he guarded, the one God loves, has walked through life unaware of how deeply they're being fought for. He cried because you don't know how many times death has passed by your door and couldn't enter. He cried because you carry wounds on your heart that were never meant to be yours alone. And still, you try to carry them in silence. Still, you smile while breaking. Still, you question your value, when all of heaven knows your worth. What if the missing piece to financial success wasn't luck, but a hidden frequency inside your brain waiting to be switched on? Once activated, this ancient signal unleashes waves of prosperity, opening doors to opportunities you never thought possible. From sudden windfalls to long-awaited breakthroughs, it's transforming lives daily. Want to see how? Click the link in the video description and comments below to tap into the money magnet brain wave and begin your journey today. Others are already awakening this hidden signal and watching their lives transform. Do not be the one left behind while abundance passes you by. You've been spared again and again, not to make you feel guilty, but to make you feel chosen. What you survived wasn't luck. It wasn't coincidence. It was divine mercy. The kind that walks ahead of you, clears the path, and blocks what was meant to destroy you. And every time you felt like giving up but didn't, it was grace pulling you forward. Not because you were strong, but because God refused to let you go. The hidden truth isn't that the enemy is powerful, it's that God is greater, always. The hidden truth is that heaven knows your name, even when you feel invisible to the world. The hidden truth is that you were born for more than pain, more than struggle, more than survival. You were born for healing. For purpose. For restoration. And even now, it's being written into your story. Jesus never came to build walls between people and God. He came to break them. He didn't walk the earth to be admired. He came to touch the untouchable, to love the rejected, to restore what was lost. And his spirit hasn't changed. He's still reaching, still healing, still calling out to the weary, saying, "Come to me. I'll give you rest." He knows what you're carrying. He knows how long it's been. And he's not asking you to fix it. He's asking you to trust him with it. This message isn't just words, it's a doorway. A moment where you're being invited into something deeper. A place where the noise quiets and you hear the truth your heart has needed all along, that you matter. That you're loved. That you are seen by the one who holds the universe and still chooses to fight for you. The battle last night wasn't about punishment. It was about preservation. You're still alive because your story is still unfolding. Because God's plans haven't expired. Because there are parts of your heart that have yet to bloom. And when they do, light will break through your life in ways you've never imagined. The broken places will become the brightest testimonies. Don't let fear steal this moment. Don't let shame whisper that you're unworthy. You are worthy, not because of what you've done, but because of what God has done for you. The blood that was shed on the cross didn't ask for perfection. It asked for surrender. And surrender doesn't mean defeat. It means finally letting God carry what's been too heavy for you. Let the truth find you where you are. Let it wrap around your doubts, your failures, your questions. Let it be louder than the lies you've believed. You are not too far gone. You are not too late. You are not unloved. The very fact that angels fought for you proves just how much God is invested in your life. Amen.